So ADA has recovered by 170% following the crash that took place on Friday. And I mentioned in my previous update that I was looking out for a 5-hour structure in the short term. And essentially that's what ended up taking place. And during the time of recording, I was tracking the wave 3, which is this wave here, which also had to be made up of 5 waves. So it's possible that the third wave ended up topping off over here at 73.6 cents. And what we are forming right now is the fourth wave. And we'll consider that reversal to the upside to then complete the fifth wave, where we could even retest the 200 DMA, which is also something that I talked about in my previous update. And in order for this third wave to have formed, what we needed was for an internal 5-wave structure to have formed. So zooming in, it's possible that this here formed the third wave at 72.99 cents. And then we had this corrective move to the downside where we ended up finding support at the 50 EMA to complete the fourth wave, followed by this push to the upside to complete our fifth wave. And if we do have this 5-wave structure that's forming where we are potentially within this fourth wave, the fourth wave would typically reach anywhere between 23.6% to 50% of the wave 3. So using the Fib tool, bringing this to over here. So you can see that ADA has the potential to reach anywhere between 67.42 cents to 70.62 cents. And so we have tapped into this region, and you can see that we are within this buy order block. And so it's possible that we see that reversal to the upside. And looking at the stochastic RSI, we are within the oversold conditions. And so I am looking out for the bulls to regain control of the market and drive the price of ADA up towards high highs. And assuming that we ended up completing this fourth wave, the fifth wave would typically reach anywhere between 1.226 to 1.618 of the wave 4. So if I bring in the Fib tool and bring this down to over here, so the next key target would be this region here between 74.68 cents to 76.46 cents. Now the minimum requirement for the fifth wave is the wave 3 top, and that level sits at 73.6 cents, but typically the fifth wave does tap into this region here. Now alternatively, it's possible that we also ended up completing the 5-wave structure, where if I just remove some of this, it's possible that we ended up forming the third wave over here, and the fourth wave could have bottomed out over here, and the fifth wave could have topped off over here. And what we could have forming is the wave 2, which typically retraces anywhere between 50% to 88.2% of this structure here. So if I bring in the Fib tool and bring this to over here, so worst case scenario, what we could see is a deeper move to the downside where we could lose this level here and go slightly deeper towards this range between 62.29 cents to 66.96 cents. But ultimately, I will be looking out for that reversal to the upside where we continue to see high highs. And looking at the 4-hour chart, you can see that we are within the overbought conditions, and the same can be said on the 8-hour chart. And so it's possible that we see a deeper retracement to the downside where we tap into this region. But again, ultimately, I will be looking out for that reversal to the upside. And zooming out, I'm looking at the daily chart. What you can see is I've been tracking some corrective moves, and I will be looking out for that corrective move to the upside, where what could have forming is a bigger WXY structure to the upside, where this structure here could have formed the double wave, and then this corrective move to the downside made up of a WXY structure could have formed the X wave, and we'll consider that push to the upside to form the Y wave. And if that's the case, then the next key target would be this Y wave target, which typically retraces anywhere between 1 to 1.226. So using the Fib tool and bringing this down to 27.37 cents. So if I move this to the right position, so the next key target for ADA would be this region here between $1.65 to $2.52. Now, if ADA was to exceed this region and retrace towards the 1.618 level, that would then trigger a 5-wave structure. And in essence, this WXY structure could have formed the wave 1 instead, as opposed to the wave W. Like so, and this corrective move to the downside could have formed the wave 2, and then the wave 3 as a minimum requirement would have to reach the 1.618 level. And then we could see the wave 4 and the wave 5 play out like so. But for now, I will be looking out for a WXY structure, and from then on, it will highly depend on whether or not we get rejected within this region. If we get rejected, then of course we'll then see that deeper move to the downside. However, if we continue to exceed this region, That would then trigger a fiber structure, which would then ultimately mean that we are on a bullish trend and we could see high highs. But of course, that's something I'm going to be tracking in the days and weeks to come, and I'll keep you guys updated. So yeah, that's just my update on Cardano and ADA. Hopefully you found it useful, and if you did, then feel free to hit the like button, and if you're new, feel free to subscribe. Take it easy, people. Peace.